The wind was bitter that morning. It raced across the aluminum train platform, whipping the hem of Naya's dress and sending loose pages of travel brochures fluttering across the ground. The station was nearly empty. Just the old conductor by the booth, a woman with a crying baby, and them. Naya stood still, fingers clutched around Kylo's hand like she was afraid the breeze might carry him away before the train could. Kylo looked down at her, his eyes dark with the weight of the moment. "Just 4 years," he said quietly, brushing her cheek. "That's all I need. 4 years and I'll come back with enough to start the life we've dreamed of. A house, a business, a future." Naya nodded, but her throat was tight. She had practiced this moment, imagining it over and over. But now that it was here, the only thing she could do was blink back tears. "You're right, right?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Even if it's just one line." "All right every week," he said, squeezing her hand. "No matter how tired I am, no matter how cold, you'll never have to wonder." The whistle of the train pierced the air. The conductor shouted a final call. Kylo kissed her forehead, a gentle link and impress that made her want to beg him to stay. Instead, she stepped back. He boarded the train, found a seat by the window, pressed his palm against the glass. She waved. The train groaned and lurched forward. As it pulled out of the station, something inside Naya snapped. Not loudly, not like a branch breaking, but quietly, like a rope loosening from its knot. And even though she stood still, a part of her felt like it was moving with the train, like something precious had been taken out of her chest and carried away. Still, she whispered to herself, "He's coming back." But then, deep in her heart, beneath all the promises and farewells, another voice, quieter, colder, asked a question she dared not answer. What if he doesn't? In the days that followed, life settled into routine. Naya taught at the local school. She walked the same red dirt roads each morning, helped her mother cook in the evenings, and wrote to Kylo every Sunday night without fail. She told him about the neighbors, the new baby goats, her students who made her laugh. She filled the pages with hope. And then the letters from Nevada began to arrive. At first, they were frequent and written ink sometimes smudged from hurried writing or cold fingers. Kylo described the endless snow, the long shift at the factory, the way he had to wear 3 pairs of socks just to survive the walk to work. He told her he missed the smell of rain in Illuminate, the sound of her laugh. He signed every letter the same way. Soon, we'll have the life we talked about. Just wait for me, okay? Naya kept every letter in a red velvet box under her bed. Each one was a thread connecting her to him, a promise still alive. But over time, the letters grew shorter. Then they stopped coming regularly. 1 month passed, then another. She wrote again and again, no response. Maybe he's just busy, her mother said one night as they folded laundry. Nevada is a tough place. Naya forced a smile but said nothing. She asked around. Kylo's sister offered vague replies. He's fine, just working hard. She asked his old friends. They shrugged. He hasn't posted online in months. The silence wasn't just distance anymore. It was something else, something heavier. Then one afternoon, she received a letter back. Her own envelope, returned unopened, addressee unknown. It felt like a slap. That night, she sat in the dark with a red box on her lap, every letter inside suddenly feeling like a lie. And just when she thought the silence couldn't grow any louder, there was a knock at the door. The knock came just after sunset. Naya had been sitting on the floor, a back against the wall, the red velvet box resting beside her like an old friend. Her mother had gone to visit an aunt, so the house was still heavy with waiting. She opened the door slowly. Yessie stood there, dusty from travel, sweat clinging to her brow. She looked thinner than Naya remembered, her skin paler, eyes tired. They hadn't spoken much since Yessie left Elumere 2 years ago for Nevada. But there she was now. Naya blinked, her voice raw. Yessie? I came straight here, she said, clutching a one-shoulder bag. I have something for you. But her voice cracked. It's not easy. Naya stepped aside wordlessly. They sat at the dining table. The air was thick. Yessie pulled a torn envelope from her bag. It had no return address, just Naya's name. Inside, she placed photographs and slid them across the table. Naya picked them up slowly. The fresh showed Kello, older, sharper in the face. He was wearing a grey suit, standing in front of a small town hall building, holding hands with a smiling woman in a satin dress. The second photo was of them walking out of the building, confetti in the air. The third froze Naya's breath. Kello again, crouched in a park, two small children clinging to his arms. I didn't want to believe it, Yessie said softly, but it's real. Naya's hands began to shake. The photo slid from her fingers, scattering across the table. She stared down, hollow. When? She whispered. A little over a year ago. The silence that followed pressed down like a weight. Every memory, every letter, every whispered promise dissolved like salt in water. It's married, Naya said flatly. He has children. Yessie looked down. I didn't want you to find out like this, but I thought it was better than hearing it from someone who'd twist the truth. Naya's eyes narrowed. Why now? Why are you the one telling me this? Yessie hesitated. There's more, but not tonight, she said. You need to rest. I don't need rest, Naya snapped. I need the truth. Yessie looked away. Then meet me tomorrow at the old mango tree, noon. She got up slowly, slung the bag over her shoulder, and left without another word. Naya sat still for hours. The images burned into her eyes. The Kello in those photographs wasn't the boy who left with promises. He was a stranger. But there was something else, something off. A detail she couldn't place. A question scratching beneath the surface. Why would Kello let her believe he loved her if he was building a life with someone else? The sun was high and ruthless when Naya walked down the old footpath toward the mango tree. It was a tree where she and Kello used to meet after school, where they carved their initials into the bark and planned a future beneath a shade. Now, Its branches swayed above her like silent witnesses, and the past felt like something watching her from the leaves. Yes, it was already there, sitting on the low wall beneath the tree, nervously fidgeting with her bracelet. "You came," she said softly, almost with guilt. Naya didn't respond. "You said there is more." Yes, he nodded. "There is." She took a long breath, then looked up. "I didn't just find out about Kello's new life, Naya. I introduced him to her." The rest hit like a slap. "What?" "I was living with her," Yessie continued, eyes pleading. "We were roommates in Novata. I didn't mean for it to happen. He came to visit me once, just once, and they met. It started with conversations, then he came back. Again and again, they got close." Naya's stomach turned. "And you said nothing?" "I didn't know it was serious at first," Yessie said quickly. "But then it was. And I told him he had to tell you, that he owed you the truth." Naya stared in disbelief. "You were supposed to be my friend. You knew what he meant to me." "I thought," Yessie faltered, "I thought you deserved better. He stopped mentioning you after a while. I assumed he'd already told you the truth." "You assumed?" Naya's voice rose sharp now. "You watched him erase me from his life and you said nothing?" Yessie's voice broke. "I didn't know how to fix it. I still don't. But you needed to know." Naya stepped back. Her heart was pounding, not just from pain but from clarity. She wasn't just betrayed by Kello. She'd been erased, quietly, carefully, by people who once swore loyalty. And now, she needed more than answers. She needed closure. The ticket was more than she could afford. Naya sold her old laptop, borrowed from a cousin, and used every coin in her savings jar, the one she'd once labeled wedding fund. It hurt, but she didn't flinch. This wasn't about anger anymore. It was about truth. She booked the cheapest flight to Novata under a different name, Kara Okon. She didn't tell anyone but her mother. The night before she left, Mama placed a hand on her shoulder. "This pain will not be the end of you, Naya." "I know," Naya whispered, "but I can't heal until I look it in the eye." The cold hit her like a wall when she stepped out of the airport. Still skies, towering buildings, faces moving quickly, no one looking up. She stayed in a tiny rented room above a bakery on Sona Street, furnished with nothing but a thin mattress, a heater that barely worked, and a single chair. But it was enough. She carried one photo in her coat pocket, the one with the red lettered mailbox behind Kello. She had memorized every detail. On the fourth day, she found it, 7th Street, a quiet residential road lined with narrow apartment buildings. And there, across the road, was the mailbox, faded red, tilted slightly to the left. She waited on the opposite side for hours, and then she saw them. Kello, older, still handsome, wearing a navy coat and beanie. He was pushing a stroller. Beside him, a woman walked with ease, laughing. Her hair was in a bun, and she wore a ring Naya had never seen before. Naya felt her knees weaken. This wasn't a secret life. It was a whole other world. She could have turned back, could have buried the truth and gone home, but she didn't. That night, she wrote a message from a private number. Meet me, alone, Cafe Malo, 2 p.m. tomorrow. I know your secret. Cafe Malo was warm, quiet, the kind of place you come to escape the noise. Naya sat by the window in a black coat, hair tied back, no makeup. She didn't want to look beautiful. She wanted to look real. At 2:07 p.m., he walked in. He scanned the room, confused. Then their eyes met. His breath caught. Naya? She didn't stand. Sit. He sat down slowly, removing his clothes. There was a long silence. 4 years, she said quietly. 4 years of silence, of waiting, of lies. Kello had said, like a man cornered, I didn't plan for this to happen. No one does, but you still let it. I thought I'd write, then it got harder. I got stuck. The immigration process was complicated. I didn't want to drag you into it. You didn't drag me in, she said sharply. You left me there. Kello looked down at the table. You were too pure for the life I ended up living, he said. You wouldn't have survived this place. She laughed. Don't flatter me, Kello. This isn't about protecting me. It's about convenience. Before he could respond, the bell above the cafe door rang again. Naya turned. Yesse walked in. Kello's face changed. What are you doing here? Yesse ignored him and placed a file on the table. Medical documents, hospital records, dates. Naya's eyes narrowed. What's this? Yesse spoke, voice low but firm. He didn't abandon you first. His wife, Mina, was already pregnant when he met her. Kello's face drained of color. She was facing deportation. He married her for papers, for the child. He told her you were just an old girlfriend back home, that he never intended to return. Kello whispered, Yesse, stop. No, she snapped. She deserves to know. Naya's heart raised. So I was what? A placeholder? You were the real one, Yesse said softly. But he chose safety. He chose survival. Naya stared at Kello. He looked away. Naya didn't speak after Yesse's confession. She simply stood, gently pushed the chair back, and walked out of Cafe Malo into the cold Nevada air. Kello didn't follow. He just sat there, silent, shame flooding his face as Naya disappeared down the street for the last time. And that was exactly how it needed to be. The flight home felt shorter, not because the distance had changed, but because she wasn't carrying the same weight anymore. She didn't cry on the plane, didn't write a dramatic journal entry, didn't even look back once the wheels left the runway. Closure, she realized, doesn't always come with grand speeches or perfect explanations. Sometimes it arrives quietly when you finally accept what is and let go of what will never be. Mama met her at the terminal with a long, silent hug. No questions, just understanding. Naya was thinner, quieter, but there was a strength in her eyes that hadn't been there before. a steadiness, like someone who had walked through fire and learned not to fear the heat. Weeks passed. Naya didn't isolate herself, not this time. Instead, she began to write, not letters, not to Kello, songs. Verses bled from her like truth long bottled, stories of waiting, of betrayal, of survival. Her music wasn't sad, it was honest. And in its honesty, it gave others permission to feel. She performed at a local community event one evening. Her voice, deep and clear, filled the courtyard. Her final song ended with the words, "I am not the one who was left behind. I am the one who rose without being called." People clapped. Some cried. A local radio presenter asked for a recording. And that was the beginning. A few months later, a man named Mazaleko attended one of our open mic nights. He was older, a renowned musician who had returned to Elumere for a cultural project. After her set, he walked up to her with a soft smile. "You don't sing to impress," he said. "You sing to survive." Naya nodded. "I write what I've lived." "I'd like to help you record," he said. "You have something the world needs to hear." Maza didn't just become a mentor, he became her partner, then a husband. They built a quiet life filled with music, storytelling, and children who grew up knowing that pain could become purpose, that endings didn't mean failure, and that silence could teach you to sing louder. Naya never changed the story to make it prettier. She didn't erase the heartbreak. Instead, she let it fuel her. Sometimes, on quiet nights after the children had gone to sleep, Naya would sit under the mango tree with her guitar. She'd play an old melody she wrote a day after she saw Kello in Nevada. The lyrics had changed over time, but one line always remained. "You walked away thinking you buried me, but I was only planting roots." She never heard from Kello again, and though he sometimes crossed her mind, it was never with longing, only gratitude. He had taught her what love was, and more importantly, what love was not.